In the NCAA, let's shift gears over now to something that we thought was done, and there has been a little bit of an issue here. And the problem is the guy who negotiated it left, which makes for this is a very difficult kind of story to keep track on, because there's an ESPN report that that big contract that Kevin Warren signed with NBC and CBS and Fox that's going to pay him $7 billion, and everybody's paid and everybody's having a great time, and MLive's website's going to have 8,000 pop-up ads for Christ's sake, bro. Like, leave it alone. You got 9,000 ads. I with 3 of them popped up in a row. I don't want, like,
I can't.
Dude, it's terrible. Anyways, they're trying to increase, the networks are, NBC in particular, wants to increase the number of November night games for football this year. And what is really interesting
I
about
believe they were promised those games.
When that deal was signed, it was that Notre Dame still gets their 3:30 slot on NBC, and then Big Ten will get the primetime game.
But the contracts haven't been signed. That's the issue.
And the schools weren't supposedly told.
We were led to believe one thing by Kevin Warren before he weaseled out to the Chicago Bears.
He's going to Arlington Park, all right? Let him live.
No.
Then you have to move.
I don't even know the new commissioner of the Big Ten. Is it Tony Petitti?
Yes.
The new commissioner? And he put the TV contracts like right at the front of the line. Like, hey, this is something we have to get done. Because USC and UCLA come into the 24-25 season. You're going to have, brand new media rights deals for the expanded college football playoff. And you have NIL and you have all this other stuff. But the prioritization of this massive television contract worth more than $7 billion negotiated by Kevin Warren before he bailed, right? In 3 months before the season kicks off and those TV deals are scheduled to begin, the Big Ten does not have completed long-form contracts yet, which include some details here that NBC getting the primetime games, having an outstanding issue here because there's some pushback from some teams that basically don't want to play at night in November. So Big Ten schools have seen the potential revenue kind of disappear the last couple of months from a contract that was announced back in August. It was announced as being worth annually average value nearly $1 billion per year through the 2029 football season. More than $70 million in total is suddenly just poof, nearly $5 million per school. And now people are picking up the phone going, wait a minute. We have to do what now? What's the issue here? So the schools have recently found out they're going to have to pay back $40 million to Fox because, according to a source, Kevin Warren delivered NBC the Big Ten football title game in 2026 without full authority to do so. That's a problem. The Big Ten Network, which is, Big Ten Conference doesn't actually control the rights to the inventory of their latest deal. The Big Ten Network does, which is majority owned by Fox. They're going to have to pay back $25 million in total for a deal to pay Fox back for the lost 2020 football season inventory. This came after an agreement between Fox and the conference was made, and that was unable to muster up this lost revenue from the COVID-19 season. That's why, there was such a push. Originally, we were like, well, we're not going to play football. Yeah, we are going to play football. You're going to play. You're going to be fine. Everything's going to be fine. You're going to play the game. There's tens of millions of dollars of value for the NBC primetime deal up for grabs here. And Petitti's working to basically get all of this squared away as quickly as possible. And the Big Ten, after the first weekend in November, schools were not required to play night games. for a whole bunch of different reasons, health recovery and campus logistics among them. These were known in the league circles as tolerances, and prior television contracts did account for these tolerances. And now everyone's acting surprised that NBC was surprised, and I was surprised, according to Michigan Athletic Director Ward Manuel. We had not discussed, and I had not discussed with anyone in the league, the change to the tolerances we had agreed upon years ago. What is up with this obsession? So it's being worked out, but Ohio State, Penn State, and Michigan State recently agreed to some concessions to make short-term sacrifices to help make up for the NBC deal, which is very nice of them. By all means, what do they care? Penn State will play on the road on a shortened week on Black Friday against Michigan State. Hey, look, guys, I don't know if you guys are aware, but did you know that the MAC, you'd play like 3 games in 18 days? 3 games in 16 days?
Right. So far, yeah, they announced, it's reported that, MSU and Penn State will be Black Friday. And then November 11th, Michigan State at Ohio State on NBC for the night game.
And I don't, like, if I'm...
So if you're Michigan looking at this, and you already know Ohio State, Michigan, that's always going to be locked in at 12 o'clock on Fox.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was part of the deal, the TV deal, is that game will not be moved.
They want the big noon kickoff.
Which is fine. It's
Yeah.
like that's a staple game for that weekend in all of college football. If you're Ward Manuel looking at the rest of the schedule, it's like, okay, so there's a possibility right now of one night game.
And
If Black Friday was
be,
taken care of, November 11th was taken care of.
It'd be November 4th against Purdue.
Right.
Like, you don't want to play Purdue at... Let me put it to you this way. As a regular civilian, I don't care. Play Purdue at 7 o'clock. What's the difference? Like, don't let Purdue on a Saturday night in November hold us up. Now, Penn State is 11-11. Maryland is 11-18. Both of those games are road games. And then you have Ohio State on the 25th, which is the home game back at the Big House.
What is that? 11-11 already taken care of. That's,
check.
That's Ohio State, Michigan State. And it could be that Saturday night, the 18th, because, MSU Penn State got pushed to Friday.
And it's Maryland, it's on the road. As
Right.
a civilian, as an employee, I'd rather have the road game be at night.
100%.
I, too, am with Kevin Warren saying we do not want November night games. As an employee, it's cold in November. All right? I'm just being honest with you. You're like, oh, well, yeah. You're standing on the sidelines. It's 10 degrees outside. It's dark. It's cold. It's probably been a long day already. Like, no.
But also, if you think about it, okay, we have 1 year until we have 2 California teams join this conference. Who do you think's going to eat up those majority of November night games?
USC and UCLA.
100%.
It's going to be Pac-12 after dark, but it's going to be 5 o'clock there and 8 o'clock here.
Exactly. So I think it's more of like, hey, we kind of have to suck it up for a year before we can just give USC and UCLA the NBC slot in November.
And to be honest with you, because 11-11 is off the table, right? Because of Michigan State, Ohio State, that's the same as Michigan and Penn State. The Big Ten as a whole might have botched that schedule a little bit. They should have, moved some of those things around, because I wouldn't play Michigan, Penn State, and then Michigan State, Ohio State on the same day. That sounds like a little bit of a scheduling kerfluffle. Like, I would want to move those games around a little bit, to have a little variance there. Me personally.
I think that's just how the schedule is worked out now, where it seems like those games have been slotted in those weeks.
Yeah, I would look to kind of move those around a little bit, so that, because those are big games. You know what I'm saying? So if I was the Big Ten, from a 30,000-foot view, I would want to look for, how we talk about the NFL has an event every single month, right? And it keeps the juice flowing. if I'm the Big Ten, let's take a look at the entire schedule, and let's try to narrow down like what are some of our big time matchups here that we can schedule in a way that we have a premier game every week. That's why I would move those games. You know, you don't want that week where it's just all clunkers. Like at least have and look, I'm not going to like Wisconsin, Minnesota is a rivalry game. So I'm not going to consider that a clunker just because, you know, both teams. Now, Wisconsin I expect to be much improved. But that's, you know, regardless here. But, you know, historically that's a rivalry game.
That, and if you're the Big Ten, you also got to look at the Big Ten West and be like, you got to produce something for us.
Somebody.
Like,
do something.
Like we just can't rely on as
big
of
four.
This year. Well, the big three, really.
Yeah, you're right. I just tried to give you.
I know you're trying to be nice, but like,
yeah, you're right.
If it was 2 years ago when Michigan State had their 11-2 year, it's like, okay, Michigan State has worked back up into that tier 1. Now they've dropped down a tier.
Maybe 3 tiers. They were 3 and 6 in conference play last year.
Okay, I'm
They're
trying
like,
to be nice to my own team now. All right,
I understand. No piling on. I understand. I get it.
There'll be enough of that
Sorry.
in September, October, November.
Sorry, my bad. But you see that Kevin Warren, like, and if I'm Michigan, and if I'm Ward Manuel, put the pen to paper. Whatever you need to be done, just do it. Just do it and get it over with. So if we got to play Maryland on the road at night, great. If it's got to be Purdue at home, boiler up at night, then sure. Whatever it's going to take to make sure that this contract goes through is going to be of the utmost importance for all parties involved. Do not, as a casual citizen here now, do not hold the league and their money up. And I'm not placing blame solely on Ward Manuel or anything of that nature. But what I am inquiring about is if that's our biggest issue here, sign the damn piece of paper.
I would say right now I would just put it on Ward Manuel because you've seen so far Michigan State, Penn State, and Ohio State make a concession.
And if that is the case, Penn State plays on the road in a short week on Black Friday against Michigan State, which you mentioned. A game that was scheduled before Penn State agreed to it. Ohio State hosts Michigan State on November 11th. The latest ever home night game in Ohio State history, which is viewed as another concession to help the league in this moment. I don't think that's much of a concession.
I believe Ohio State and Michigan had the same concession of just like, we want to play at noon.
Which is totally, like, understandable. Like, that's
right.
The big noon kickoff. As long as we get the commercial TV timeouts to go under 28 minutes, we should be fine. And that's per commercial.
Just make halftime all commercials to cut down our commercial breaks to 2 minutes.
I would be 100%. I don't even need a halftime show. Just block all the whole halftime.
Just do what the you see during all the big games of like, this game is happening back after the break.
I mean, that's literally how it is in the regular season. They definitely do a couple minute longer halftime too. Because we do a 15-minute halftime. 12 minutes, I believe, is breaks
for
Pistons games. It's 3
for
minutes of content and 12 minutes of breaks. So that the game breaks are shorter.
Right, but that's got to be that's a standard.
That's a regular season thing.
That's a standard across the league.
Right.
You know, where you're not going to go where the Pistons are on Fox today, and we're going to have 3.5 to 4 minute media timeouts, and then next week when they're on CBS, it's going to be 2:45. You know, the best part about it all is that if you ever work a game on ESPN3, the breaks are 180 seconds. And then you work a game on Fox, and it's like we could have a 5-minute break. In the second half, the under 10 media timeout in college hoops, you could have a break that is you don't have enough stuff to fill it with. I mean, it's just unbelievable how long. Like, don't even give coaches timeouts anymore. Don't even let them call them. Screw it. And I'm glad they cut down to from 5 to 4 timeouts in college basketball. But my goodness, we got stoppages nonstop. Fox is the worst. They understand though, because they paid $7 billion to have these games on their net. These 3 networks did in this package deal. Like, somebody's got to pay for that, and that's coming from ad revenue. So I don't really like the league is facing a decision on a potential bonus for Kevin Warren, who didn't have a bonus clause. I wouldn't pay him. I'd get him out of there as soon as possible. And you want the league to grow, you want it to expand. If at all, like, pen to paper, get it signed, get it done. If everybody's got to make a concession, everybody make a concession. And I don't care, well, we never did this or we never did that. None of that matters. You're going to do it now. You're going to do it for 1 year. Suck it up, Buttercup, and everything is going to be all right. And that's just the way it is. And if it's Purdue and we got to be there until midnight, then it's Purdue and we got to be there until midnight and pray to God the Lions will have a game the next day.